This is going to be a demonstration of using the dynamic balance hoof level on trimming this foot. And the first thing we need to do in order to utilize the dynamic balance hoof level is to actually mark up the foot, because we need to identify the axis, which is located at the intersection of the transverse and sagittal lines on a foot. We trace the junction of the white line to sole around the hoof, and we put a point at the apex and at the central sulcus and draw our sagittal line. Then going to the widest part of the of that foot, and we hold the rasp parallel to the sagittal line and move to the outside or the junction of the white line to sole, and where it touches our white line we put a mark that identifies our transverse line. Those two lines where they intersect results in our identifying our axis. What's important to this method, or using the dynamic balance hoof level, is to have the crosshairs. There are many ways to find the axis, and no matter which method you use, being accurate on the axis is the most important thing. And once we've established that, we need to establish a heel plane, and we use the dynamic balance hoof level, and it's attached to a standard farrier's rasp by the magnets. And in order to position it for correct use, we need to align the diamond with the axis and make sure that the heels are covered, so this can be slid forward or back until we have alignment over the axis and our heels are covered. There. And then holding the dynamic balance hoof level about 2 inches away from the hoof, viewing through the lens with one eye, our dominant eye, like we're looking through a scope, we establish a plane, or we mimic the plane that we see through the lens, having the lines in the crosshairs. Then lower the rasp until it makes contact with the hoof, and it'll tell us which heel is distal to the other. The medial heel is slightly distal on this foot right now to the lateral heel. So what I need to do is confirm that I have enough heel, and I use the toe plane from the dynamic balance hoof level and place it on the apex of the frog. Come back to the widest part of the frog to identify heel height, and right now we're just about right on our heels. So I'm just going to create a plane by getting my balance and lowering that heel until it's on plane in all directions. And then I'll mirror that on the opposite side until I have what's called purchase, or surface area, in those heels. And when placed on the heels and looking through the lens, I should have a heel plane that's parallel to the axis plane. At this point, we're going to continue and apply the trim. I use the heel plane as reference for the balance of the rest of the trim. So I'm going to trim this foot, and however you trim the foot is fine. Clean the frog up a little bit. Not a lot to do. Tags. Put my marks back so I have my crosshairs for reference. And then I'm going to go through the trim. And however you trim your foot is fine. We're not here to teach you a trim. We'll teach you how to establish distal to proximal balance on the planes so that the hoof is balanced to the internal foot. Now I'm going to establish a toe plane that's parallel to my heel plane. And I'm going to use the dynamic balance level to come in reference by going to my heel plane, place it on my heel plane, see that I'm level. And then I'm going to take the toe plane, and attach it. If I'm on plane, it'll slide in easily, but I can see that I'm still slightly distal in the lateral toe because it doesn't want to go in quite as much, and I'm getting resistance in that point. So I'm going to lower that plane slightly. And then I'm going to take the level back, attach it again, line it up. When it's in place, slide the plane in, and I have balance. So now my plane is balanced to the internal foot because I have an access plane, heel plane, and toe plane, and they're all balanced to one another.